We begin right now with the painstaking process for impeaching a president. To paraphrase Coldplay, nobody said it'd be easy. And for good reason. The founders did not intend for this process to be easy or fast in either the House or the Senate. Tomorrow's vote is being teed up in today's House Rules Committee meetings, where there were some final fiery arguments. This stretched over 7+ hours.
He jeopardized our national security, and he undermined our democracy.
There's a lot of discussion about crimes, but they couldn't find it in themselves to charge one.
Abuse of power is the essential impeachment offense. President Trump makes Richard Nixon look like a little leaguer when it comes to obstruction.
Tough talk, and it continues. That House panel is actually still debating at this hour, as you can see, ahead of any vote that will then lay the groundwork for tomorrow's big one, the floor vote on impeaching Donald Trump. Meanwhile, there are signs that this president, who publicly claimed and bluffed that he welcomed impeachment, actually looks like he hates this. This afternoon, Donald Trump unloading with this letter, official on White House letterhead, chock full of exclamation points and all kinds of half-baked grievances. The president claims this process, which of course he boycotted, is actually invalid. He falsely claims that more due process was afforded to those accused in the Salem witch trials. I guess this is the point in the broadcast where I say, because I try to keep it real with you, to be frank, how do you fact check something that is that hyperbolically stupid? Well, briefly, we can note that 20 innocent people were executed during the Salem witch trials for witchcraft. So no, this process is nowhere near that right now, thank goodness. Now, then there's the Senate side. Mitch McConnell is now blasting Chuck Schumer. They're going public with this fight over the fact that Schumer went public after McConnell went public on Fox News. So this is a back and forth we're going to get into more later in the hour. But what you need to know right now is that there is a question that Mitch McConnell has answered. It relates to something Democrats were already accusing him of, the idea that he would not even pretend to be impartial during this coming trial, even though he will actually take an oath to be impartial.
I'm not an impartial juror. This is a political process. There's not anything judicial about it. I would anticipate we will have a largely partisan outcome in the Senate. I'm not impartial about this at all.
He's not impartial, and he's predicting partisanship. What's important there is the legwork that Mitch McConnell's doing. Obviously, if they have this all sewn up, he doesn't have to say much of anything. They can slam dunk it. But there are signs that Mitch McConnell tonight, and we're going to keep reporting this out for you, is still trying to figure out how he gets to 51 for pieces of this or all of it. And when he says this is all going to be a partisan sideshow, he's talking about himself. There's a tell there. And he wants, apparently, from what I can tell, he wants the country to give up hope on this process before it even begins, to only see it as partisan. And so you have to ask yourself, if there's a politician in Washington trying to convince you to look the other way, why is that? And is it a sign that maybe you should be looking even closer? Are we seeing him tonight calling all the plays, no matter what happens?
Based on my conversations in the last hour with top Republicans, this letter is both deeply personal and deeply political for President Trump. It's a Trump rally put on paper, and it gives us a real hint of what's going to come in 2020 as he goes hockey arena to hockey arena, rallying his core supporters in these Midwestern and battleground states, grousing about the Democrats. This was a letter that he has written over the course of 1 to 2 weeks, according to associates of the president. It's something that he's trying to put his own stamp on. And remember, this is a president, as you said, you've covered deeply yourself, who has always litigated, always sent letters to his enemies.
And to your point, Bob,
when you say,
hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC, you can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.